All right, guys. There's another game that I've been playing a lot of. And we talked a little bit about this last week, but that game's Uncharted.
Ooh.
And I finally beat all 3 of the Uncharted games. I'm very excited about this, but now I can discuss with you guys in full spoilers, so letting you guys know this is about to get fucking nasty. We're getting all up in there. Kevin, I don't think you need to put anything because I'm just going to, they know, and I'm going to, in the headline, I'll put spoilers. Yes. Uncharted 2 versus Uncharted 3.
Yeah, great.
You guys have spoken about this.
Talking about this.
I know.
a
God, if only
million
I hadn't
times.
fucking done this my entire career.
But here's the thing. Y'all motherfuckers are like, Uncharted 3 is better than 2, and then if 3 came before 2, then blah, blah, blah. Like, that's your line, right? I don't understand it. I do not, and I love you guys,
Sure.
and I respect you guys, and usually your opinions, I'm like, yep, I'm right there with you. It doesn't make sense to me how people could think that 3 is better than 2.
Okay.
Give me your thoughts.
I've talked about it at length.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather start with you.
Okay.
But since you are the host, I have to go. No, the thing about it, right, is the fact that for me, it's just the fact that Uncharted 2, while an amazing game, was Uncharted 1 beat for beat. I go back to this all the time, that it starts the exact same way. There's the betrayal. This goes on. Here comes Elena. They're falling back in love. Now there's a supernatural twist. Here's the happy ending. And it's like, when I did that on Uncharted 2, I was disappointed. I was disappointed in that game, which is crazy to say. The gameplay's awesome. It looks amazing. I loved it. But it's like, for sure, my least favorite Uncharted, because it just felt like, because I play Uncharted for the story. I am in this for the Nathan Drake story, and I felt like I'd played this story before. And so when Uncharted 3 comes around, it from the get-go is like, it's about Nate and Sully's relationship. We're not going to do this. They toy around with the supernatural twists, right? They make you think they're going that way, then they zag, right? Like I felt actually kept you on your toes and did things you didn't expect. I expected everything that happened in Uncharted 2. Uncharted 2 at no point, like in terms of story, caught me off guard, right? Like that's the long and short of my problems with it. In terms of gameplay, when people are always like, oh, Uncharted 3 shooting felt weird, I was like, I played it before launch and reviewed it and never at all thought the shooting felt differently. And maybe, I don't know, I still don't fully understand that. Naughty Dog went back and fixed it. They did that focus group with the hardcore fans. It exists. I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But for a player of my caliber, I didn't notice it and feel for it. You know what I mean? Like, for me, for me, it was just that the fact that I thought Uncharted 2 spun its wheels in terms of where we were with the story, whereas Uncharted 3 advanced it. Here are Nate and Elena. They are married, but on the outs now with this stuff. Nate's real name isn't Nathan Drake. I want to know more about that. Let's actually look at his past. Let's look at why him and Sully are so tight. Let's see a little bit about who these characters are on not just this surface level. The surface level is fun, but I honestly think it's one of those same reasons I don't like Indiana Jones that much, is the way that Indiana Jones I don't feel, and I'm sure Indiana Jones fans like I know Colin for sure. Maybe I've missed this. It's been a long time since I felt the film, but I felt like every one of the films, with the exception maybe of what's the one with his dad, Sean Connery.
Oh, The Last Crusade.
It just felt like it was always a reboot. These things happen independently of each other. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? There's no reference to the girl before or anything like that. I've always been a continuity whore. I like these worlds and stuff like that. So the fact that Uncharted 2 felt like in a lot of ways it was just Uncharted 1 again, or it could have come first, or you don't even need Uncharted 1 to understand what's happening here, didn't work for me. Like, we get great moments, like, Elena Fisher, last year's model, like, that's fucking brilliant. You know what I mean? Like, Uncharted 2 is an amazing game, but it's just like more of the just like Lazarevich is drinking this blue sap and this is happening, and I'm like, okay, like I felt Uncharted 3 was more exciting. I felt like Uncharted 3 had a better story. I thought Uncharted 3 was just a better game.
Man, see, that's so weird to me because I feel like I agree that Uncharted 2 was like very similar to 1. I think that 3 was also very similar. Like, I do feel like beat for beat, so many things happen that I'm like, again? Like, we're really doing this thing again? Like, they're getting held up again? This is like all of this stuff and the supernatural stuff, whether or not it was a twist or not, anything, it still was there, And I felt like it was very kind of, all right, I know the pacing of this. The pacing of all 3 games feels identical to me.
And honestly, that's something I'm not arguing against fully. I do think we have to at some point figure out maybe that's just an Uncharted game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's the thing is I'm fine with that. I don't think that 3 is that different from 1 or 2 that to say that like 2 was just sort of like a
it was just the fact of the different focus, right? I mean, it
was the flashback. Like minus the flashback sequences, it's like the same thing. With them, it's slightly different, but even then it's like they were really cool and I loved it, and I loved that like we did get that different kind of story. But I thought that 2 starting off with the
train
with the
the hanging
the
from
end
the
of the
train.
train things, which is like a flash forward.
Yes,
I
that was
guess.
awesome. That was awesome.
That was from every perspective, whether it be story or gameplay or anything, way more actually enticing and definitely.
It's funny you say that because for me, then comparing it to 3, right, and we talk about this in the Let's Plays, is the fact that I think, Colin and I did those Let's Plays where it's the first 30 minutes or whatever of each game, right? And by the time you get to 3, you're like, look at them play with camera angles and pacing and music and cinematography. And, you know what I mean? It's like, this feels like such the fleshed out version of what we've had before.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I feel like it just falls not flat because again, 3 to me was amazing. Like it definitely goes 2, 3, 1 in my head. And if I had to put numbers on it, I would probably go 9.5 for 2, 9 for 3, and then 8.5 for 1. And that's a 2015 score looking back at these games. And so they're all great. They're all really close. But the thing is with 3, like, yeah, it is more story focused and it did have a more interesting story and stuff, but I don't think the story was ever that good. Like it never really reached the point where it's like, yeah, their camera angles and cool and stuff, but it's like and I like that they were diving deeper into their history and all that stuff, but I don't think it ever went that deep with it. It was still very surface level. It's just surface level in a different pool. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I loved the history and I loved all the stuff in the bad guys in all the games. Whatever, they're bad guys. 3 did have the most interesting main villain.
Yeah, Marla.
She was cool, But I think that the side villain, like Lazarevich, was like whatever, but Talbot, whatever. Like I didn't like him at all. Meanwhile, Flynn in 2, I fucking loved.
Yeah, Flynn's
he
cool.
was fucking
Flynn's really
awesome.
Cool.
And like I feel like that the backstory between him and Drake was just as interesting as Sully and Drake's backstory. And we didn't need to get flashbacks and cinematography for that. We just got it through dialogue. We just got it through gameplay. And I really enjoyed that bit of it. The biggest critique I have of 2 is that I think it went on a little too long. Like it really did kind of retread things where it's like, we got to go find this thing and it's going to solve everything. Oh, we got to it. Wait, no, this is just leading us here. Now it's leading us here.
It's another
now
clue.
It's leading us here. It's clues after clues after clues when it always seems like it's the thing they're going after. And 1 was that way too. But one isn't even in this conversation mainly because the pacing in that game was off.
They were getting their footing on what this game is,
and the battles lasted way too long.
And there was just like not really, but kind of monster classes, right?
Yeah.
It was just more pirates are coming over the wall.
There's fun coming, just shooting forever. 2 and 3 have those moments,
right?
But it always felt fun to me, and it never felt like too much.
Yeah.
But I feel like 2, it had one round of here's a clue, here's another big fight, here's another cinematic moment. Just one round too much, where it's like, all right, like. We're good. I get this. There's the temple. If this game was finished, it would be even better. I love doing it, and like now that I'm done with it, it's fine. But like I remember thinking like, wow, I'm only 60% done. Like I feel like I should be closer to like 75% done with this.
Yeah.
3, I feel like its issue with that was there's a big portion of that game seems like it's from almost a different game. That being the cruise ship thing. Like
I love that part.
It is amazing. It is, to me, probably one of the best parts of 3, and definitely one of my favorite parts of all the Uncharted games. But from a story perspective, it just seemed like a detour, where it's like, all right, we're just going to randomly do this thing totally unrelated to this whole story. It's like, yeah, he thinks Sully's on the boat, but like you go there, and it's like an hour and a half that is a sidetrack thing.
Sure.
And it's weird. It almost feels like if it wasn't so good, it'd be a real big offense, but the fact that it's good, I'm like, well, who cares? It's good.
Yeah.
But it's like stuff that would get cut from the edit of a movie.
Yeah.
Where,
I mean, that's always games, right?
No, for sure. But it's just interesting to me where it's like, it just feels like it didn't fit.
Okay.
Like all of a sudden there's pirates that are either unnamed or aren't characters that were in the franchise before, or even this game. You're just fucking dealing with them. Oh, they're gone. Let's back to the main story though.
Yeah.
And it's like, if this was a TV season, I get that. But this is more of a movie experience,
That makes sense.
So I thought that was a little weird. 2 didn't have that. And the biggest thing that I think 3 had that bogged it down was the puzzles. I said this last week when I was playing through it, and it just kept happening where there's these puzzles that happen that are either so simple to figure out, or it's not that they're hard, it's just they're not fun. Like you just I'm looking at my journal.
What? I'm not because you're wrong. I haven't played 3 since I
the one where there's like early on in the game, there's a bunch of floor tiles and you have to walk in a certain pattern to get across. It's not even a puzzle. It's literally look at your journal, follow the path.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like that's not fun. That's not anything. It's just kind of here's something to do and waste. That's admittedly not pushing crates and not doing typical video game stuff.
Sure,
but this isn't better. And then there's the one with the shadows where you have to like kind of find the right angle.
Oh, and make the thing. I like that one with the sun thing.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, hold on, not with the sun thing. Where it's like you make the shadows so that it hits.
It's stabbing.
Stabbing. It's up on the wall, right?
Yeah, because there's another one we have to mess with shadows and stuff.
Okay.
I guess what it is and that's cool, but it's also again just they're not so much puzzles as much as it's look at the journal and it tells you what to do and follow and match things.
I hear.
It's like looking at it's like if the puzzle's where's Waldo, but you don't need to find Waldo. You just need to look at the thing that tells you where Waldo is and then go find him and circle him, And it kills the pacing and those things bring the games to a fucking crawl. Like where the rest of it's fucking super fun. And I get that you need those lulls. I don't know. It never hit right for me. And I think 3 had too many of them. 2 had a couple, but 3s were just they always came at the worst time for me. I guess that's the thing is I wanted to get to the cruise ship. I wanted to get to these things. And instead I'm looking at a journal, trying to think of what else. I just lost my train of thought.
No, that's fine.
But there's
now you brought this show to a crawl.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much of it though where I loved 3. I loved Cutter.
Cutter's great.
All the characters in all the games are great. Like Chloe's fucking awesome. But then in 3, it's like things happen with Cutter or whatever, and they're just gone. Like you never hear from Chloe and Cutter again. Not that you have to. I get that it's like we can kind of assume what happens. Did we really need an ending scene of them all at a table together talking?
Hey!
No, but it's like it did feel weird that like you open the game with them, you're with them, and then they're gone. But 2 I felt a little bit more character-wise complete. Where you're with this group of characters and there isn't weird things happening. Like all the supernatural stuff, it's a stretch always in the series.
Yeah, of course.
But it's like, it's fun, and that's what the games are, is they're fun. But 2 just
I've never wanted it, I guess,
is
is my thing. Is I like the fact that I like it when it's grounded character based. Like, and I shouldn't say I never want it, but because I remember at the end of Uncharted when I was playing, original Uncharted, right, and everything happens and these fucking Nazi dudes are running at you, and I was like, this is fucking. All of a sudden I'm shotgunning everybody when I haven't used this gun at all. You know what I mean? Like that was cool or whatever. But I felt trite by the end of 2, and then when it popped up in 3, my first reaction was like, ugh. And then they it's not happening. You're making this okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the drug stuff in 3 was really cool, and I like that they didn't do the supernatural thing again, even though it's bullshit because they did. Even though they didn't story-wise, they still did gameplay-wise. Like you still had to fight these.
But it's not the gameplay. See,
things.
But that's the argument. Not the argument. That's our deviation point. Is like I'm not mad at it because of the gameplay. I'm mad at it because for me it's just like I've had this awesome story with this believable dude, and I've totally checked my disbelief of me killing 1,300 people and not caring about it. But when we get to the fucking monsters that are like whatever, like the fucking 2 monsters that are, oh god, it's some kind of Sasquatch. You shoot him like, oh wait, it's a mask. You take off the mask, it's something even creepier. You're like, what the fuck? What is going on in this world?
Yeah, no, I mean that's very true.
Tenzin, forgot about that.
Yeah, the homie, man, you be doing some shit.
Yeah.
With 3, another thing that I thought was weird was the weird spider things. Like there's all those scenes that were very reminiscent of like Crash Bandicoot where you're like running.
Oh, right. Like the scarabs. Like, yeah. And they chase you up.
Yeah. And it's like, maybe I missed this, but like, where was that explained? Like, what are those?
I forget.
Are they just like two monsters?
Exactly.
And that's what
there was something that somebody moved, I thought, that made them become a thing.
But they just kept coming back.
Right.
Like, throughout the game, they're just always there.
They're pissed, dude.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's what Egyptian scarabs do. You know that.
But it's just,
you watched The Mummy.
It was weird to me. Like 3 felt like there was a lot of questions I had where I'm like, why? What? Who are you? What is this? What are those? And I feel like that didn't happen as much as in 2.
Sure.
And it was almost frustrating.
I mean, that's the thing that I think's totally. I mean, first off, everything you're saying is valid. Don't get me wrong. But like the one that I took away from that never even dawned on me when I was playing the game and talking to people about the game, and like I'm trying to write this review for Uncharted 3. So many people eventually after they played it, like now it's a joke between Colin and I. The whole like Talbot turns down an alleyway and just disappears. Mm-hmm. He just goes to a dead end and disappears, right? And at the time I was like, oh man, mystical shit, da da da. And then when I was like, oh, it's not mystical shit, I never said, well, wait, how did Talbot get out of that thing? You know what I mean? I was playing with the information I knew at the time. So when I get to the end and it's not that, I'm like, awesome, cool.
Yeah.
He's just really into this
And it's
fucking
movie
Captain
logic.
Marvel.
You know, like
Exactly.
I'm not gonna hate on that. I'm talking about like I'm not saying I have all these questions. I'm saying I have questions of like the scarabs. What?
Yeah.
That just seems a little bit weird.
See, for me, in whatever context we were playing, it made sense at the time.
Okay,
You
I
know
guess
what I mean?
there was times where I was just like, they're back. Like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
the shit?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like really the standout things, and it's like on a beat for beat of like which had the better moments or whatever. They're both great. Like the cruise ship thing was fucking awesome. The train thing, fucking awesome. Is one better than the other? I don't think it's even necessary.
I think the airplane doesn't get enough credit. I love the airplane in 3.
The airplane was one of those scenes, and to me, the airplane was Uncharted, where I'm like, my adrenaline's up, and I'm like, what the fuck's going? When he's fucking skydiving,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is fucking.
And that was the
cool.
one of the things I'd been asking leading into it with you, if how much you knew about it. Because if infamously, that was the one where like literally we were getting our review copies the next day, and during whatever Raw or Monday Night Football or something, they ran a Subway commercial with it, and they showed him falling out the back of the plane. And I was like, I had never thought about that. It had never dawned on me that we were going to exit the plane. We knew about the plane in battle, but
sure.
I never thought we wouldn't be on the plane. And like, I thought that sequence, even knowing that, was so awesome.
And he had a Subway cup in his hand.
Yeah, he did. All right, and then he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna fuck Subway if he's fresh," and they did say that. Yeah, but like that whole sequence, and then landing, and then hitting in the desert, and like being like, "I am fucked," and they do that pan out, and I'm like,
my
"Oh, what a
God.
beautiful cinematic," and then it just sits there, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm
I
controlling
control
him, and I
this,
gotta
yeah.
walk him while the music plays." I was like, "This is a fucking masterclass right
dude,
now."
honestly. And see, those moments are the lulls that I want in the game. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah, I hear that.
It's
I hear
those
that.
moments where it's okay, we're slowing down, and you're just doing this shit. It's like I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know how he was going to be saved and all this shit. And man, it's like it's interesting to me that people are, and because there's the other side of it too. It seems like the majority of people think 2's the best, and like 3, they hit the way that they hate on 3. I do not understand.
No, you have to understand it's the
Fanboy. It's
not even fanboy. It's expectations being set. I am part of this problem, and not that there's any way for me around it. My job was to review the game. I think it's a masterpiece. I don't give a shit about the number. I think it's a masterpiece. I don't think it's perfect. That's not what the 10 means. But you give something a 10, and everyone's expectations skyrocket. And then sure, the people already want to take out its legs and stuff. But this is when the scarabs and Talbot down a dead end and all this stuff start popping up, because people go in expecting this to be life-changing. And with that expectation, on that chip on your shoulder, you go in and it doesn't hit it, and that's why people are so angry about it, because Uncharted 2 didn't have that expectation. Uncharted 2 was a fucking amazing game, 9.5 from IGN, obviously amazing scores from everybody else. People went in expecting an amazing game, and they got it. People went into Uncharted 3 expecting everything to be better than it was before, and for it to be fucking perfect. And that's why this game gets flogged like that.
No,
and that's
that makes
why
sense.
if we could release it and nobody, because the story always goes, right, that at IGN, it was me, Colin, Sam Claiborne, and maybe Jack a little bit. I forget, but for sure us 3 had played it and beaten it. No one else in the office has. And I call this meeting, or it was whatever, it was like an editorial meeting already. And at the end, I get up and I'm like, hey, I want to give this game a 10. And I start ranting about it. And Sam and Colin were on board with that score. And everybody's like, yeah, sure, sounds great. And so then I did it. And then every time somebody played Uncharted, I would get a second-by-second breakdown via text message of like, this game's amazing. Da, da, da. Oh my God, fuck the shipyard. I got this text message. Oh my God, fuck the shipyard. I can't believe you gave this a 10. You know what I mean?
What do people not like about the shipyard?
It's really hard on harder difficulties. When you're in the water and there's like the pillars, you're trying to get up and do different things, and like one guy has a grenade or
that's
shit.
true though. Like there was a lot of moments in 3 that weren't in 2 that I was like, oh, I don't like this that much.
Yeah.
Whereas 2 was consistently like, I like this a lot.
Yeah. See, in Uncharted 2, I had those moments where I ran into things where I'm like, I'm not having fun right now. Fuck this part of the mission. You know what I mean? Or the game, not the mission. And so that's just the apples, oranges, different strokes. But I think a lot of the main hate for Uncharted 2 to 3 is expectation levels. And that's what we're talking about when we say if one came before the other, this would be the same argument. Because if it was that Uncharted 3 comes out and gets a 9.5, and then Uncharted 2 gets a 10, in reverse order, people would nickel and dime everything in Uncharted. But what does it make sense that he's drinking sap? Why would a shotgun hurt him at the very end? I don't understand why they toyed with Elena getting killed. The grenade went off right. Why didn't she die?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's not the lens this is applied to and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Man, it's very crazy to me that. So, what are your thoughts on this, Colin?
I don't know. I mimic Greg's thoughts. I mean, the important thing to realize is that the 2 to 3 transposing them, or like so 3 would be 2 and 2 would be 3 is not our idea. That's something people at Naughty Dog say. So, when I asked them what their favorite Uncharted games were, some people say 3, some people say 2, some people say Drake's Fortune, which surprised me, but it's true. And they're the ones that said people there, multiple people. I interviewed a lot of people there for when I did the history of Naughty Dog individually, and individual people not knowing the other person said it or brought up, because I'm sure they talk about it internally too, is like if 3 came out before 2, everyone would say the same thing about 2. And that was from multiple people that worked on all 3 games. So I think that the jump from 1 to 2 is so extraordinary in terms of graphical fidelity, and lesser so, but still in terms of storytelling, that the jump from 2 to 3 is not as appreciated because there was nowhere left to go. And I think that they did the best they could. I think 3 is the most cerebral game. I think it's the best story. I think it tells the most background, which is what I'm interested in with those characters. It gives them context for why they're doing and how they know each other, why they're doing what they're doing, how Sully and Drake met. I think that's all interesting. Marlowe's connection to Sully, obviously. This is all totally fascinating stuff. I also love the way it begins. I love the fake death sequence in the beginning. I love a lot of stuff about 3. I think 2 is also an extraordinary game. I think they're both fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But I think that what people misunderstand about the jump from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 is that you have to look at game development as a pie chart. It really is. Like, there's certain things you do with games to be able to build a game quickly. The impressive thing about Drake's or Among Thieves rather is that they did it in 2 years. And when you have a 2-year sequence or so to build a game, and the game looks that much better than the original, you assume that most of the fidelity comes from their extra work, right? And that extra work comes at the sake of, say, gameplay or something else. I mean, a lot of people will say that that's not true, but it is. There's just only so much amount of time. There's only so much manpower, and there's only so much you can do to make a game better. And so I think the exact opposite happened with 2 to 3. 2 and 3 look very similar to each other because there's nowhere else to go from there. I mean, 3 looks better than 2, but it seemed like they didn't focus so much on that, and then they focused more on character development and story. And I think sequences like that, I fucking love the cruise ship. I think that sequence is fucking awesome, and I love that it's disconnected because there needs to be set pieces in the game. It's like Indiana Jones, that's kind of the thing we're talking about, like how they run around from place to place, like, and it's just like, oh, we didn't find what we want. It's like, think about the map sequences in Indiana Jones where he's like going all around the world and they just don't bother to tell you what he was doing, because it's a fucking 2-hour movie. It's not, or 2.5-hour movie. It's not, a 12-hour game. So
yeah, but I think people are
very hard.
We don't need to know that stuff. But I do agree that it needs the set pieces. But that's why I think that the building falling down in 2 was fucking awesome.
It is. It's not the other thing is that like 2 isn't good at this, or really 3 isn't good at the disadvantage of 2. They can both be good, and I think that's what people are losing sight of. I'm playing Drake's Fortune now. I'm almost to the end, and what I'm realizing is that Drake's Fortune's not as good as I remember it being. And when I'm really interested in it, I'm like, this game is finicky as fuck in certain places. I think it's still a great game. Great story, great characters. I like the shooting, but there's some finicky fucking platforming in it. There's some weird design elements in it. And I'm interested when I get back to 2 and 3. I haven't played 2 since 2009. I haven't played 3 since 2013 because I went back and platinumed it right before The Last of Us came out. Greg gave that game a 10, 3 a 10, and I would stand by that 10. I think it's because a 10 means masterpiece. It doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean that there's nothing wrong with it. I just think people are unabashedly hard on 3, and I don't really quite understand why, other than like the expectations. I really don't get it. I'm like, what really is wrong with it? That's the thing I'm trying to figure out, and that's why I'm excited to go back to the game and refresh my memories. I
can't wait to hear what you have to say after it. I feel like I'm lucky that I got to play it on the Uncharted collection for the first time, where they did balance all the gun stuff, because to me that's not even a factor. It all is the same system. So I enjoyed it very, very thoroughly. I loved all 3 of the games, and I think that what you're saying about the leap from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, I don't know. I do think that there was a leap. Like, it's even playing the collection. Like, 3 is more cinematic, and it does have all of the environments. They're so different and varied, and like just the focus on stealth is different. And like they did in the bar fight, even like even the melee system being improved. Like, it has things that are undeniably better than 2.
But I think what he's saying is they don't stand out as much
as the leap from 1 to 2.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for sure. But yeah, I do think that I could never say that I think 3 is better than 2. And I do think 2 is a step above 3 in terms of how amazing it is. But all 3 are fucking awesome.
I will say this to close out, just because Greg and I have spent so much of our lives talking about this conundrum. is that I'll be happy if we never talk about it again.
Oh no, there's
Oh, and we
nothing that makes me harder. Like especially like a meet and greet if somebody comes up and asks and they're like, "What do you think three's better?" Well, I wrote 2 pages of a review and a video review. You're welcome to go, and I've made videos about it. You can go do all that. You know what I mean? Like
once 4 comes out, get ready.
Well, no, that's the thing. 4 already is a slam dunk and is the best Uncharted because it'll be that it's so much better than 3. It's a return to form from 3. People have flogged and beaten this game into the ground. That now when this shows up, you know what I mean? You're gonna have you already see it with the technical leap when you watch the E3 demo and Mud taking on him the fire the way.
Even I'm probably gonna love 4. I'm probably gonna be in love with it, but I'm still gonna say 3 is my favorite just to bother people.
Of course you will. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that topic brought to you by DraftKings. Put your fantasy skills to the test at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site, where you can kick the season off by winning $2 million. It's the biggest fantasy football contest ever. $10 million in prizes are up for grabs, including $2 million for first place and $1 million for second. 1 week fantasy means no season-long commitments. It's fantasy football on demand. Play where you want, when you want, with the players that you want. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings. Welcome to the big time. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and use promo code KINDOFFUNNY to play for free for a shot at part of $10 million in Sunday's Millionaire Maker event. Enter Kind of Funny for free entry now, only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.